I watched about 5 hours of Digital Foundry podcasts on the PS5 Pro, from before the announcement and reveal of the Pro model to the latest episodes, and I've learned a lot. There are things I strongly agree with them on, and others not so much. Full disclosure, I still don't agree with them on the GTA 6 fiasco regarding 30 frames per second on the PS5 Pro and PS5. The truth is, we just don't know yet. They also don't have strong insights on why or how GTA 6 will perform on consoles, aside from the classic CPU bottleneck. In this short video I've condensed, we're going to attempt to answer the biggest questions. Is the PS5 Pro really a big leap in gaming? Are the improvements really that noticeable between the PS5 and PS5 Pro? If you're coming from a PS4 or PS4 Pro, should you upgrade to a base PS5 or a PS5 Pro? I'll give you the short answer now. Go for the Pro, especially if you're in the USA. Will the PS5 Pro put an end to 30 FPS gaming? And what exactly is the PS5 Pro's gaming boost? And realistically, what graphics card can you compare this beast to? I also have some bad news for those RTX 4080 to 4090 masters out there, and some very fresh leaks on GTA 6, like 1 hour ago, fresh. Alright, so one of the big complaints about Sony's PlayStation 5 Pro reveal is that the visual improvements weren't super obvious, especially when they showed gameplay from games like Ratchet & Clank on both the regular PS5 and the PS5 Pro. A lot of people couldn't really see a difference, and part of the reason is that Sony was streaming the event on YouTube, where compression and artifacts mess with the video quality. Basically, YouTube's not great at preserving those fine visual details when you're trying to show off advanced graphics. But recently, Digital Foundry got their hands on some uncompressed, direct feed footage of the PS5 Pro running games like Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, Alan Wake 2, Horizon Forbidden West, Hogwarts Legacy, Gran Turismo 7, Assassin's Creed Shadows, and Dragon's Dogma 2. One of the standout features of the PS5 Pro is Sony's new upscaler called PSSR. It's finally confirmed that is a lot better than FSR3. However, isn't as strong as Nvidia's DLSS in terms of keeping the image stable. There's some noticeable ghosting and shimmering in certain scenes. Though we also have to keep in mind that Digital Foundry did the comparison with a RTX 4090. For example, in Alan Wake 2, the game is rendered at a super low resolution of 864p and then upscaled to 4K 60 FPS using PSSR. For 4K 30 FPS with ray tracing, it's rendered at 1260p before upscaling. Now, hearing that a game is running at such a low resolution might seem concerning, but it's actually pretty common for modern games with high-end graphics. This is how they achieve all those fancy effects without tanking performance. Just to compare, Alan Wake 2's path tracing mode on PC requires DLSS 3, frame generation, and reflex to render at 1080p in order to hit 4K 80+ FPS on a GeForce RTX 4090. So, running games at lower resolutions and upscaling them is a common strategy in the industry, especially for maintaining high frame rates. Now, here's a breakdown of the PS5 Pro's performance for a few games. According to Digital Foundry, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart runs at a dynamic resolution of 1440p to 1800p to hit native 60 FPS, or 4K 60 FPS with PSSR. Alan Wake 2 runs at 864p to hit 4K 60 FPS with PSSR, or 1260p to hit 4K 30 FPS with ray tracing. Horizon Forbidden West runs with visuals on par with the PC version on the PS5 Pro. Hogwarts Legacy running at 30 FPS with better ray tracing on the PS5 Pro. Gran Turismo 7 runs at 1188p with ray tracing and pisser to hit 4K. The baseline PS5 hits native 4K 60 FPS but without ray tracing. Assassin's Creed Shadows runs at 864p to hit 4K 60 FPS with pisser. For anyone who's going to jump in and say, oh no, the PS5 Pro is just a sub 1080p machine, hold up. It's really not that simple. The whole idea behind pisser is exactly this. It drops the internal resolution a bit, but then boosts things like ray tracing, texture filtering, and all the fancy graphical effects that make games pop. Think of it like this. Would you rather have a game that runs at native 4K but misses out on all the cool visual stuff like shadows, reflections, and intricate details? Or would you prefer something that's slightly lower resolution but packs in all the eye candy? PSSR lets developers strike that balance, and that's why it's a game changer. This is is kind of the same reason why DLSS on NVIDIA cards is such a huge deal. It's clever, and it frees up resources for more impressive visuals, like better lighting or ray tracing effects. That's basically the magic here. The PS5 Pro is using Pisser in the same way, and it's why Digital Foundry's breakdown makes a point of saying that the overall quality of pixels is more important than the number of pixels. We're not just talking about resolution anymore. This is about taking a game's visuals to the next level. So yeah, don't worry too much if you hear sub 1080p thrown around. Digital Foundry also addressed the concern about the PS5 Pro running games at sub 1080p resolutions, explaining that the point of high-quality upscaling like Pisser is to prioritize the quality of each pixel over the sheer number of pixels. So there is another thing that a lot of people don't talk about the PS5 Pro, and that is the Ultra Boost mode, which can boost games even though they are not patched by third-party devs. So does this mean we'll finally be able to boot up RDR2 and play it at 60 frames per second on the PS5 Pro? Well, it's complicated. Let's dig in. The Digital Foundry discussion around the Pro's Ultra Boost mode offers some insights into how the new console might handle backwards compatibility and performance improvements for existing PS5 games. This concept continues the tradition from the PS4 Pro, which used a boost mode to enhance older titles with marginal increases in CPU and GPU performance. However, the PS5 Pro's Ultra Boost mode appears to promise something more significant. The most notable improvement could be the utilization of the full GPU configuration, akin to what Xbox has done with Series X, using all available compute units in backward-compatible titles. This would be a step beyond what the PS4 Pro offered, where only a portion of the GPU was available in boost mode. This boost mode might improve dynamic resolution scaling performance and address issues in certain games that are GPU-limited or have inconsistent frame rates. Titles like Immortals of Avium, Jedi Survivor, and Elden Ring might see enhanced stability and resolution, especially if they currently suffer from performance or GPU limitations. Games that are CPU limited might also benefit if the boost mode adjusts the CPU clock speeds. One of the key points from the discussion is that Ultra Boost mode won't fix everything. For example, games capped at 30 or 60 FPS, or those with fixed resolutions, will not see improvements unless developers provide specific patches. Similarly, while GPU-bound games could see performance boosts, not all titles may benefit equally, depending on how they were developed and optimized for the PS5. So here is what Rockstar needs to do. Tell one employee to go and make a patch on Red Dead Redemption 2 and unlock the frame rate. It would take about a day to do that. Upload the patch onto PlayStation Network and bam! We could get FPS on PS5 Pro even above 60, especially if there is no other graphical improvements or resolution bumps. So please, Rockstar, one day of work, one employee, and I'm happy. Give us an unlocked FPS on RDR2. But here's the real question. Does this mean we're finally done with 30 FPS? Or are we still going to see some games locked to that? Some developers, especially first-party Sony studios, might even aim to bridge the gap and deliver both. But for third-party games, 30 FPS might still be the standard for the highest visual settings. They'll probably use it to make games prettier. We saw games like Hogwarts Legacy running at 30 FPS with improved ray tracing. It's clear that while some titles might aim for higher frame rates, 30 FPS has kind of become this thing where developers can flex their graphical prowess, even though more and more console gamers are getting tired of it. Let's try to figure out which GPUs match up. First off, the original PS5's GPU is often compared to AMD's RX 6710GB card. Both have similar levels of compute power and are pretty close in terms of performance, though the PS5 has some differences like in memory bandwidth. Now, for the PS5 Pro, we're looking at a couple of potential comparisons from AMD's lineup. AMD RX 7800 XT, though this one might need to be underclocked, running at a lower speed, to match the PS5 Pro. But here's where things get tricky. The Pro's new features like ray tracing improvements, RDNA 4, and Pisser upscaling that we don't see in those AMD cards. In other words, while the RX 6800 and 7800 XT are close in raw power, they may not have the exact features the PS5 Pro's GPU will. Another GPU that might compare is NVIDIA's RTX 4070. This one has similar compute power to what we expect from the PS5 Pro. Plus, the RTX cards tend to have better ray tracing performance. However, just like with AMD's cards, this is still mostly a guess based on numbers. One more thing to keep in mind, the PS5 Pro has more graphics memory than most comparable PC GPUs. And speaking of Rockstar, let's talk about GTA 6. It's not looking good for PC gamers. Abe Vermaide's recent remarks on GTA 6 paint a mixed picture, particularly for PC gamers. While his statements about Rockstar's ability to take its time in developing the game may reflect confidence in the franchise's long long-term success. They also raise concerns about how the staggered release strategy could affect players on different platforms. The potential delay of the PC version to 2027, which Vermeij speculates, is particularly troubling for PC gamers. He also said, "The idea that GTA 6 will dominate for 10+ years mirrors the unprecedented success of GTA 5, which has continued to sell thanks to GTA Online and multiple re-releases." From a business perspective, Rockstar's model makes sense. They can focus on optimizing the game for the most immediate and profitable platforms, then work on a well-polished PC version. Here's what I think. Ain't no gamer going to wait 2 years to play GTA 6. I think GTA 6 will sell at least 10 million consoles in the fall of 2025. Not to mention the marketing deal Sony has with Rockstar that more and more leakers are confirming it every day. What do you think of all this as a PC gamer? Will you buy a PlayStation 5 Pro just to play Grand Theft Auto 6? Look at GTA 4. That game was notorious for running like crap on PCs for years. I've always said, you can't directly compare consoles to PCs. This is exactly what they said about the PS4 Pro. And now, years later,